So, I welcome you back to another session. We have started with conformal mapping and we have seen some of the examples of conformal mapping in the last session. We have seen some basic transformations also. So, which were they? They were translation, rotation and magnification. And you know that if I have a function f of z is equal to az plus b, it will give you a combination of all these three basic transformation, where a and b are complex constants. And when do you say a mapping is conformal? A mapping is conformal if it preserves the angle between the curves. Now, consider the complex function f of z is equal to z plus 1 by z, and is it conformal? Yes, it is conformal except the points z equal to plus or minus 1 and z equal to 0. In particular, the function is conformal at all points in the upper half plane satisfying mod z greater than 1. If z is equal to r e raised to I theta, then your f of z is equal to z plus 1 by z can be written as w is equal to r e raised to I theta plus 1 by r e raised to minus I theta, and so your u is r plus 1 by r cos theta and v is r minus 1 by r sin theta. Now, if r is equal to 1, then v is equal to 0 and u is equal to 2 cos theta. Thus, if I have a semicircle z is equal to e raised to I t, but t varies from 0 to pi, its image is the interval minus 2 to 2 on the u axis. If I have r greater than 1, the semicircle z equal to r e raised to I t, where t varies from 0 to pi, is mapped onto the upper half of the ellipse u square by a square plus v square by b square is equal to 1, where a is r plus 1 by r and b is r minus 1 by r. So, you can see this mapping in the figure. So, you have a semicircle and it goes to the upper half of the ellipse u square by a square plus v square by b square is equal to 1. So, your circles becomes what? The ellipse. Under the mapping w is equal to z plus 1 by z. So, an example for conformal mapping is linear fractional transformation or bilinear transformation. So, let us see what a linear fractional transformation is. Suppose a function t of z is az plus b by cz plus d. So, what is a, b, c, d here? They are nothing but the complex constants such that ad minus bc not equal to 0. Such a function az plus b by cz plus d is called a linear transformation, and since t dash z is equal to ad minus bc by cz plus d the whole square, t is conformal at z provided ad minus bc is not equal to 0. And also one more point to be excluded, that is z is equal to minus d by c, where the function reduces to infinity or else it is not defined. So, any function t of z such that az plus b by cz plus d, where a, b, c, d are complex constants and ad minus bc not equal to 0 is called a bilinear transformation or linear fractional transformation. Note that when c is not equal to 0, t of z has a simple 0, that is z naught is equal to minus d by c, and so limit of mod t dash z as z tends to z naught is infinity. So, we will write t of z naught as infinity. In addition, if c is not equal to 0, then limit mod z tends to infinity of t z is limit mod z tend to c a plus b by z by c plus d by z, which is nothing but a by c. So, we write t of infinity as a by c. So, what does it mean? So, if your z naught is minus d by c, it maps on to infinity, and if c not equal to 0, t of infinity is mapped on to a by c. So, let us see an example. I give you t of z as 2z plus 1 by z minus I. So, clearly it is a linear fractional transformation. Let us see what are its image points at 0, infinity and I. So, using the function we get t of 0 as 1 by minus I, that is nothing but I, and the image of the point infinity is the limit mod z tends to infinity of t of z, which is 2, and the point I is mapped on to infinity. That is 0 goes to I, infinity goes to 2 and I goes to infinity. So, the points 0, infinity and I are mapped on to I, 2 and infinity in the w plane or else the t plane here, because we have represented the function as t of z. Here the fractional or the linear fractional transformation has the circle preserving property. If c is equal to 0, the transformation reduces to a linear function Tz is equal to some Az plus b. This is a composition of rotation, magnification and translation. As such, a linear function will map a circle in the z plane to a circle in the w plane. When c not equal to 0, your w can be written as Az plus b by Cz plus d. By actual division, you can write it as Bc minus Ad by C times 1 by Cz plus d plus C by A. So, you can see here, first C into Z plus d gives you rotation, magnification and translation. Again multiplying it with a complex constant, again Bc minus Ad by C plus C by A, again a translation. So, the circles are mapped down to circles under this transformation. Letting A is equal to Bc minus Ad by C and capital B is equal to A by C, Tz reduces to W is equal to Az2 plus B. So, that is why it is a sequence of all the basic transformations which you have considered till now. So, if I call Z1 as Cz plus D, Z2 as 1 by Z1 and W becomes A times Z2 plus B. Note that if mod Z minus Z1 is equal to R and W is equal to 1 by Z, then mod of 1 by W minus 1 by W1 is equal to mod of W minus W1 by mod W into mod W1, which is equal to R, or mod W minus mod W1 is equal to R times mod W1 into mod W minus 0. It is easy to show that all the points W that satisfy mod W minus W1 is equal to lambda times mod W minus W2 is a line when lambda is equal to 1, and it is a circle when lambda greater than 0 and lambda not equal to 1. So, the equation says that the image of a circle mod Z minus Z1 is equal to R under the inversion W is equal to 1 by Z is a circle except when R is 1 by mod W1, which is equal to mod Z1. So, you can actually say that the circles are mapped onto circles or straight lines. So, let us quickly see a theorem on circle preserving property. A linear fractional transformation maps a circle in the z plane to either a line or a circle in the w plane. The image is a line if and only if the original circle passes through a pole of the linear fractional transformation. The pole is nothing but a singularity of your function f of z. So, let us see some of the examples. Find the image of the circles mod z is equal to 1 and mod z is equal to 2 under the transformation Tz is equal to z plus 2 by z minus 1. What are the images of the interiors of these circles? So, the circle mod z equal to 1 passes through the pole z naught equal to 1 of the linear transformation, and so the image is a line. Since t of minus 1 is equal to minus half and t of I is equal to minus half minus 3 by 2 I, we conclude that the line is u is equal to minus half. Now, the image of the interior circle mod z is equal to 1 is either the half plane u less than minus half or the half plane u greater than minus half. Using z equal to 0 as a test point, t of 0 is minus 2 and so the image is the half plane u less than minus half. Similarly, the circle mod z is equal to 2 does not pass through the pole, so the image is a circle. So, as per the theorem, it maps circles onto circles or straight lines. The straight line happens when it passes through the pole of your function. So, here in this case mod z equal to 2 does not pass through the pole, so it maps onto a circle. So, mod z equal to 2, to find its image we consider t z bar, that is z plus 2 by z minus 1 the whole bar, which is z plus 2 by z minus 1, which is your t z itself. So, t z bar is a point on the image circle and the image circle is symmetric with respect to u axis. Since t of minus 2 is 0 and t of 2 is 4, the center of the circle is w is equal to 2 and the image is the circle mod w minus 2 is equal to 2. The interior of mod z is equal to 2 is either the interior or the exterior of the image mod w minus 2 is equal to 2. Since t of 0 is minus 2, we conclude that the image is mod w minus 2 is greater than 2. So, we can clearly see it in the figure here. So, let us see how to associate your linear transformation, linear fractional transformation to matrices. We associate the matrix ABCD, which we call as capital A, with T of z is equal to AZ plus B by CZ plus D. So, the matrix of the transformation TZ is equal to AZ plus B by CZ plus D is your matrix ABCD. If T1z is some A1z plus B1 by C1z plus D1 and T2z is A2z plus B2 by C2z plus D2, then T2 of T1z is given by Tz is equal to Az plus B by Cz plus D, where your matrix ABCD is nothing but the product of A2 B2 C2 D2 into the matrix A1 B1 C1 D1. If W is equal to Tz, that is Az plus B by Cz plus D, then the inverse map Z is given by dW minus B by minus CW plus A. You have to just cross multiply and collect the terms Z to get the inverse map as we normally do. So, the inverse map T inverse W is nothing but d of W minus B by minus CW plus A, and the associate matrix will be the adjoint of A, which is the matrix D minus B minus C A. Now, let us see another example. If your Tz is 2z minus 1 by z plus 2 and Sz is the function z minus I by Iz minus 1, find S inverse of Tz. See, let S inverse of Tz is Az plus B by Cz plus D. Then your matrix of this transformation ABCD should be equal to the adjoint of the product of two of the transformations, the matrix of the two transformations, that is adjoint of the product of the matrices 1 minus I minus 1 and 2 minus 1, 1, 2. So, if I take the product of those two matrices, we get the matrix minus 2 plus I, minus 1 plus 2I, 1 minus 2I and 2 plus I. So, S inverse of T of Z is nothing but minus 2 plus IZ plus 1 plus 2I divided by 1 minus 2I into Z plus 2 plus I. The linear fractional transformation T of Z is equal to Z minus Z1 into Z2 minus Z3 divided by Z minus Z3 into Z2 minus Z1 has a 0 at Z equal to Z1, a pole at Z equal to Z3 and T of Z2 is equal to 1. Thus, this Tz maps three distinct complex numbers Z1, Z2, Z3 to 0, 1, infinity respectively. The term Z minus Z1 by Z minus Z3 into Z2 minus Z3 by Z2 minus Z1 is called the cross ratio of the points Z, Z1, Z2 and Z3. So, you can see that this transformation Tz maps the three distinct complex numbers Z1, Z2, Z3 to the points 0, 1 and infinity respectively. Likewise, the linear fractional transformation S of W given by W minus W1 into W2 minus W3 divided by W minus W3 into W2 minus W1 sends the point W1, W2, W3 to the points 0, 1 and infinity, and so S inverse maps 0, 1 and infinity to W1, W2, W3. It follows that W is equal to S inverse of T of Z maps the triple Z1, Z2, Z3 to the triples W1, W2, W3. So, from W is equal to S inverse of Tz, we have S of W is equal to Tz, and thus W minus W1 into W2 minus W3 divided by W minus W3 into W2 minus W1 is equal to the cross ratio of the triples Z1, Z2, Z3. So, we can see that the cross ratio is preserved under linear fractional transformation. So, the cross ratio of the triples Z1, Z2, Z3 is preserved if I have a mapping W is equal to f of Z, which is a linear fractional transformation. So, if I have to construct a linear fractional transformation and if I know a triples in the Z plane and corresponding images in the W plane, I can use this cross ratio preservation property to find the linear fractional transformation. So, let us see an example. Construct a linear fractional transformation that maps the points 1 I minus 1 onto the circle mod Z equal to 1 to the points minus 1, 0 and 1 on the real axis. So, by the cross ratio preservation property, we just substitute the points and the images. We have W plus 1 by W minus 1 into 0 minus 1 by 0 minus minus 1 is equal to Z minus 1 by Z plus 1 into I plus 1 by I minus 1, or else W plus 1 by W minus 1 is equal to minus I times Z minus 1 by Z plus 1. So, solving this to get a linear fractional transformation in the form W is equal to Fz, we get W is equal to minus I into Z minus I divided by Z plus I. So, let us see another example where we have to construct a linear fractional transformation that maps the point infinity 0, 1 onto the real axis to the points 1 I minus 1 on the circle mod W is equal to 1. Since Z1 is infinity, the terms z minus z1 and z2 minus z1 in the cross ratio are replaced by 1, because we cannot directly substitute the points infinity there. So, my cross ratio preservation property or the equation reduces to w minus 1 by w plus 1 into I plus 1 by I minus 1 is equal to 1 by z minus 1 into 0 minus 1 by 1, or your S of w is equal to minus I into w plus 1 by w minus 1, which is equal to minus 1 by z minus 1, which is your T of z. If we use the matrix method to find w is equal to S inverse of Tz, so we have ABCD, the matrix of Tz, which is the matrix ABCD, is given by the adjoint of the product of the matrices minus I 1 1 and the matrix 0 minus 1 1 minus 1, which gives you minus I minus 1 plus I minus I 1 plus I. So, if I write w, I get z minus 1 minus I divided by z minus 1 plus I. So, as I have discussed, we can also call the linear fractional transformation as bilinear transformation. Let us see what are its fixed points defined as. As the name says, the points which coincide with their transforms under the transformation are called the fixed points of the bilinear transformation or linear fractional transformation. How do you find the fixed points of a given transformation? So, we have w is equal to az plus b by cz plus d. In order to get the points which coincides with their transforms, I need to substitute w is equal to z. So, my function reduces to z equal to az plus b by cz plus d, which becomes a quadratic cz square plus dz minus az minus b is equal to 0. So, we can solve this using the quadratic formula and obtain the fixed points. So, we can see that using the property of the quadratic formula, if c is not equal to 0, then there are two distinct fixed points if d minus a the whole square plus 4bc not equal to 0, that is a discriminant not equal to 0. Now, if c is equal to 0 and d is not equal to 0, then the transformation reduces to w is equal to a by dz plus b by d, and here the infinity is always a fixed point, and the second fixed point is obtained by putting z equal to a by dz plus b by d, which is d minus a into z is equal to b, that is z equal to b by d minus a if a is not equal to d. If a is equal to d, then the only fixed point is infinity. So, a linear fractional transformation or bilinear transformation have two fixed points if c is not equal to 0 and d minus a the whole square plus 4bc is equal to 0, and only one finite fixed point if c not equal to 0 and d minus a the whole square plus 4bc is equal to 0. So, the earlier case was d minus a the whole square plus 4bc not equal to 0, and one finite fixed point and the other infinite fixed point if c is 0 and a not equal to d, and only one infinite fixed point if c is 0 and a is equal to d. Suppose your bilinear transformation or linear fractional transformation has only one fixed point. Such a transformation is called a parabolic transformation. If infinity is the only fixed point, then c is equal to 0 and a is equal to d. Then your transformation reduces to w is equal to z plus b by d, which is a translation. So, suppose I have my inversion mapping w is equal to 1 by z. Can you tell me what are the fixed points? In order to get the fixed points, we substitute w is equal to z. So, my equation becomes the quadratic here is z square minus 1 equal to 0. So, z equal to plus or minus 1 are the fixed points here. Thus, given any bilinear transformation or linear fractional transformation, you can find the fixed points by simply substituting w is equal to z and then solving the quadratic equation. So, now how have we defined the bilinear transformation or a linear fractional transformation? The transformation w is equal to az plus b by cz plus d, where ad minus bc is not equal to 0 is your bilinear transformation. We call it also the Mobius transformation. We have actually introduced it as an example for the conformal mapping. So, what is a conformal mapping? It is a mapping which preserves the angles between the curves. Also, why do you call it bilinear transformation? The transformation is actually linear in both the variables z and w, hence we call it as bilinear transformation. So, if you actually find the inverse mapping of w is equal to az plus b by cz plus d, you can see that it is also bilinear, because the inverse mapping is given by z is equal to minus wd plus b by wc minus a. So, we have seen that the bilinear transformation is a combination of all the three basic transformations: translation, rotation, magnification, and of course, your inversion. W is equal to 1 by z. So, we have clearly seen it by expressing it as a combination of all these basic transformations. And also, since w is equal to az plus b by cz plus d, except for z is equal to minus d by c, every point in the z plane has a unique image in the w plane. Similarly, for the inverse mapping, except for w is equal to a by c, z equal to minus wd plus b by wc minus a has a unique point in the z plane. Here, in your transformation w is equal to az plus b by cz plus d, ad minus bc is called the determinant of the transformation. When your ad minus bc becomes 1, the transformation is said to be normalized. So, we have seen some examples where you have actually found out the transformation which maps the given image, given region to an image. You have also seen the cross ratio preservation property of bilinear transformation, and this property can be used to find the bilinear transformation or the linear fractional transformation if you know 3 points, the triples z1, z2, z3 and their images w1, w2, w3 under the mapping w is equal to f of z, which is your az plus b by cz plus d. So, this cross ratio preservation property actually helps you to find the mapping if you know the points, 3 points and their images. Also, we have seen what the fixed point of a bilinear transformation is. It is nothing but the points which coincides with their transforms. And do you remember how we have solved and found out the fixed points of a bilinear transformation? We have substituted w is equal to z and then the transformation reduces to a quadratic in z. So, according to the quadratic equation in z, you can have at most 2 fixed points. It can be either distinct or else coinciding. So, with this we come to an end of this session. So, you have seen conformal mapping, and as an example of conformal mapping we have discussed bilinear transformation or else linear fractional transformation in detail with examples and its properties. Thank you for watching the session. We will continue with the applications of conformal mapping in the coming session.